Hello, my name is Gabriella, and I'm going to do my presentation on Ferpa and non-custodial parent rights. So to cover this a little bit more in detail, I want to go over a case study. In this case study, we're examining Katie, who's a sixth grader, and her parents are Mr. Doe and Miss Hernandez. They're currently divorced, and Miss Hernandez has full custody of Katie, although her father does have visitation rights. So Katie has been coming to you for counseling all year because she has a really stressed relationship with her mom. She feels like she can't really communicate with her, but she does communicate much better with her father, and she lets you know that she feels more comfortable um, about her father knowing things as opposed to her mother. Um, Lately, you notice that Katie has been feeling a little bit more down and that her grades have been dropping. Katie's parents also her teachers, sorry, they also contact you and report that her grades are she has really like failing grades, and they're really worried about her, and they suggest setting up a meeting with her parents. When you suggest contacting Miss Hernandez, Katie becomes really upset and begs you to call her dad instead. So how should the school counselor proceed in this case? So before we go into FERPA and really decide how the school counselor should proceed, I want to go over some of the dilemmas in this case, which are mostly like ethical issues and legal issues. So we want to know if a school counselor can consult a non-custodial parent about social emotional issues involving their child, and also does Mr. Doe really have any rights to be included in parent-teacher conferences? Is the school obligated to notify the custodial parent before contacting the non-custodial parent? So to dive deeper into that, let's explore FERPA. FERPA was established in 1974 as a law, and it's basically meant to protect and ensure a parent's right to view their children's educational records, and it also gives them the ability to seek to amend inaccurate information in those records and decide what entities and really what individuals can have access to or view these files. So, taking that into mind, FERPA also states that an educational agency or institution shall give full rights under the Act to either parent, unless the agency or institution has been provided with evidence that there is a court order, a state statute, or a legally binding document that states that the non-custodial parent does not have these rights. I think this is really important to consider because based on what we know of Katie's case, we know that parents are divorced, and we also know that Katie's mom has custody, although her father does have visitation rights. There's no other legally binding document that we are aware of that states that her father can't have any access to her educational records or anything else that pertains to her. So that's something that's really important to consider, and that's under FERPA. So in addition to FERPA, there's also the ASCA ethical standards that school counselors are must follow. So let's cover this one. This is one of the standards, and it says that school counselors respect the rights and responsibilities of custodial and non-custodial parents and guardians, and as appropriate, that they should establish a collaborative relationship with parents or guardians to facilitate students' maximum development. So that's one of the ethical standards that school counselors must abide by. And I think it's also really important in this case because uh, we want to make sure that we're respecting the custodial parent, but also the non-custodial parent. And we also must consider what situations require that certain parents be contacted, especially if it's going to affect the student's development. And in this case, we know that that's a major factor. We know that Katie feels way more comfortable speaking, communicating, and just sharing more about her personal life and her problems with her non-custodial parent, which is her dad, and she has opposite type of relationship with her mom, which is her custodial parent. So it's important to really take into consideration how this will affect Katie, and that Mr. Doe still has his rights. In addition to that, as a school counselor, we need to consider Katie's safety and also how this will impact her. We know that she's more comfortable with her father, and we know that uh, we will show her that we're considering her feelings and taking her into account if we were to contact her father before her mother. But we also, it's kind of difficult because we want to, you know, be sure that we inform the custodial parent without making them also feel left out of the equation. So some courses of action that we can try to look at are the first option would be that the school counselor can consult with the principal and decide if contacting Mr. Doe first is in Katie's best interest. Sometimes it's very good for school counselors to seek advice from other school counselors or even the principal, just so that you're sure that the care of standard was practiced and that you did what was best for the student. So you can consult with the principal and decide if contacting Mr. Doe first is in her best interest. The school counselor can then update him and suggest a conference with both parents, and then contact Katie's mom as well to suggest the same. A consequence to this scenario would be that Ms. Hernandez would become very upset with the school counselor and with the school for contacting Mr. Doe first or even at all. Um, a second option would be that the school counselor can call Ms. Hernandez first and inform her about Katie's situation. Mr. Doe can then be contacted by the school afterwards, or Ms. Hernandez can notify Mr. Doe about setting up the conference to meet up and discuss Katie's progress right now. A consequence to that would be that Ms. Hernandez will probably be the most content about that because she's notified first since she's the custodial parent. However, a negative consequence would be that Katie might become upset that we contacted mom before dad. This also might We also might lose her trust because she has relied to us that she has a better relationship with her father. She might think that we're not really considering her feelings. So that's something really important that we should take into keep in mind when we're coming up with the course of action for this case. So the what I would recommend for the course of action, given uh, that legally there's no document that we're aware of that forbids Mr. Doe from being notified or having access to Katie's academic or emotional issues. Uh, Ethically, I would notify Mr. Doe about the situation and then I would contact Ms. Hernandez, just because I know that Katie feels that stronger connection with her dad, and she's let me know. She's been very clear that she wants him to know before mom, and there's nothing legally forbidding him from that. So I think that's what I would do in that situation. Um, Also, in the text, Stone also states that you may contact and involve non-custodial parents in an academic or emotional issue. In an effort to preserve the relationship with the custodial parent, you may decide to inform the custodial parent that you have called the non-custodial parent. So that's something that we've been mentioning as well throughout the presentation, is that we want to be sure that we don't lose that communication and that relationship with Katie's mom. We don't want her to feel left out, or we also don't want her to feel that we're not really taking her rights into consideration. We want to make it clear why we decided to contact Mr. Doe first. This can be done separately. It doesn't have to be with Katie present, but just keeping that open communication between both parents and letting them know why certain steps were taken, I think is really important in this case. And especially, like, most importantly, we want to ensure that Katie is safe and that she feels comfortable and that she has our trust. So I think in this case, contacting Mr. Doe would be legally and ethically appropriate. Thank you.